Hello everyone, we're in Pirkei Avot, the second parak Mishnah 1. This is part 3 of this Mishnah. There's a lot to say, and we'll wrap it up this time around. So just as a quick reminder, Rabbi Omer, Ezohi Derech Yeshar Sheyavar Lo Ha'adam, Kol Shi Tiferet Lo Aseh V'Tiferet Lo Min Ha'adam. We've spoken about that. V'Hevei Zahir B'Mitzvah Kalata V'Chamura, She'ena Te'yodeh Matan Scharan Shel Mitzvot. And you should be careful with a lenient or an easy mitzvah as with a stringent one, because you do not know the reward for the mitzvahs. And you should calculate the loss of a mitzvah, as in the expense of a mitzvah, against its reward, and the enjoyment of an avera against its loss. Look at 3 things and you will not come to sin. Know what's above you. A seeing eye and a hearing ear, and all of your actions are recorded in the book, or are written in the book. So what do we make of this? What does this mean? I mean, first, it seems to be implied in the Mishnah itself. There's a mitzvah kala and a chamura, right? There's a lenient, a light one, and a stringent one. Seemingly, the stringent one would grant more reward. So what does this mean? We don't know the reward for mitzvahs. So the Maharal says a very important yesod, and that is there are 2 tracks to compensation. There's of course the salary, but as any employee knows, as what are the bonuses in terms of, that's nice that you're paying me my salary, but if I go above and beyond, am I going to get compensated? And that's the idea here. That is to say, of course, each mitzvah has an internally built schar. But more than that, there's a Mishnah Pirkei Avot that says, Lefum tzara agra. According to the effort, according to the pain is the reward. More effort invested, right? No pain, no gain. Well, of course that's not true here. You perform the mitzvah, then there is gain. But there's, of course, significantly more gain when you invest yourself into the mitzvah. And that's true, by the way, with all the relationships. We see this with relationships between parents and children, between spouses, of course, and in any meaningful relationship between, again, employee and employer. That is to say, a parent who wants to grow close to his child and keeps just buying them expensive gifts, I mean, not much is going to happen. They're just not going to, first, probably not going to appreciate it after a while, and second, it's not doing anything. The child wants time with their parent. They want time with mom and dad, right? They want the emotional energy from the parent. They want to know that the parent cares about them. Sometimes it might get frustrating, but at the end of the day, that's what a child needs. And the more effort a parent infuses into their child, the deeper that relationship is going to be. It's not just about the fancy gifts. The fancy gifts carry an impressive price tag, but there's something that's way more important than that, and that is, how much do you actually care about me? How much time are you going to really spend with me? And it's similar between spouses. Again, a person will go, let's just say, husband wants to do something nice for his wife. So again, buys her jewelry, keeps throwing her all these nice pieces of jewelry. Eventually, again, are you buying the jewelry I like? Do you even want to spend time with me? Do you want to talk to me? Whereas if a husband spends a bit more time, and this costs a tiny fraction of the price of a nice piece of jewelry, but he buys her the exact type of flowers, the exact color that she loves, and the type of arrangement, and puts it right where she likes it in the home, and waters it and takes care of it, then she'll be much more touched. There's a deeper relationship that's going to flow out of that action, because she sees it's not about the flowers, it's about the amount of effort that the husband invested in knowing what his wife likes, going through the effort, spending the time and energy in order to do this for her. And that's part of what happens with a mitzvah. That is, if we just kind of check the boxes and we just do mitzvahs, like, okay, fine, I know God cares about this, just do it, then that's good. I mean, obviously there is a relationship that's being built between HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But it's not, there's an expression, Rahmana Liba Bai, God wants the heart. He wants us to be emotionally involved with Him. And Maharal actually says this explicitly. He says, Kischar ha-mitzvot, she'al yedei ha-mitzvot, dveikot ha'adam bo yitbarach. That's what he says. The schar of the mitzvahs is that through the mitzvahs, we become davik in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We cleave to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We bond with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rabbi Tad says that the word mitzvah and tzivui are different words. A tzivui is a command. Now, if someone were to ask us, what's a mitzvah? We'd say, it's a command. Okay, that's certainly true on some level, but a mitzvah comes from the word tzevet. It's a team. There's the commander and the commanded. And when the commander issues a command, and the commanded obeys that command, then now there's a relationship between the two. There's a bond between the two, and that's what happens with a mitzvah. The mitzvah is most powerfully expressed when we do with ratzon, when we do with eagerness, with excitement. We want to know what we're expected to do, and we do with great alacrity and joy. And so that's what it means in terms of, yes, if you're to ask what is the raw schar for a mitzvah, do we know it? I'm not sure. But the point is there's a specific payout for each mitzvah. But what about the bonus? What about all that extra effort? So there you don't know. And the reason why you don't know is because you don't know how much effort you're putting into it. So that's idea one. And now just taking a bit of a step back and looking at this on a broader level, the Maharal explains the flow of the Mishnah. It's powerful and important. It's basic, but it's powerful. And he says like this. He says, there's a linear understanding of this Mishnah. It goes like this. Sometimes a person will think, look, this mitzvah, it's too easy, there's not much schar, it's not worth it, why would I go about doing this? I'm going to start wasting my time doing it. And so that's why the Mishnah says, if you're going to say this mitzvah is too easy, don't say that. Go ahead and do it anyway, because you don't know. So that's one. And then sometimes a person will pass over a mitzvah opportunity. Well, why would he do such a thing? Because look, it's too much effort, I need to go out of my way to do this. Or requires expenditures, right? Look, I want to learn this, but I have to buy this book. It's too much. It's like $28 for this new sefer. It's fine. I'll look it up on Safari, or I'll get printouts or whatever. And that's not a good way of going about it. Or for a low task, right? Look, I have to subject my yetzer hara. I want to have X, Y, or Z, and God doesn't want me to. But now I have to start dealing with my own desires and reining them in. And so says the Mishnah, make a cold, clear calculation. What do I stand to gain from this, and what do I stand to lose from this? When you're doing a mitzvah, there's a lot to gain and very little to lose. The little to lose is just a couple bucks or a little bit of extra effort that you'll forget about tomorrow. But you'll have a mitzvah as part of your balance sheet, as opposed to an avera. An avera is breaking away a relationship from God. That's the worst thing that you could possibly have. And the gain is, of course, just very temporary, whatever it is. Name your avera. It's probably going to end fairly quickly within a few minutes. So just skip the gain, go straight, focus on the loss, and then you won't do it. And so that's that. And then sometimes a person will think, look, even if I do this, nothing's going to happen to me. What's the worst thing? I'm not going to get struck by lightning. And so that's why it says, no, look at these three things. Ayin Ra, right? God sees, and God hears about it, and God writes about it. He's going to remember. This isn't going to escape his notice. Don't think about that. Or don't think that that's correct. Do think about it. Okay. That's a linear understanding. And now I want to focus on this idea of Ayin Ra, Ve'ozen Shomat, V'chol Ma'asecha B'Sefer Nichtavim. What is being said here? And here the Maharal really just opens up, really blows this up, and he says like this: do not say, and this Mishnah does not say, Alev Mevin, Alev Mevin, a knowing heart. That's not what it says. It says an Ayin Ru'ah. God sees. It's about Yediyah. It's what he knows about. He's focusing on what can be seen, i.e. the action. Why is that so important? Because Maharal talks about these people who philosophize and say, look, if God knows everything, right, that means he knows what we're going to do, and therefore we have no free will, right? And that's a really powerful about this. This is a pretty serious discussion in and of itself, in terms of the seeming contradiction between God's omniscience, right, his divine foreknowledge, the fact that he knows everything, and free will. Those two things clash directly. In terms of if God knows everything, then he knows what we're going to do. If he knows what we're going to do, that means we have to do that action. We have to do that thing that we're supposed to be doing. And if that's true, then how do we have free will? God already knows what we're going to do, so how can he reward us or punish us for something that we really have no choice about because God already knows? And so to that, Maharal says, no, this this Mishnah is clearly telling us that there's an ayin ro'ah. God sees. It doesn't say 11 fin. God is not going into the internal workings of our heart. He wants to see, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And that's very powerful, because when we think about work sometimes, we're like, listen, we want to give ourselves excuses. There's this event. I'm tired. I don't want to do it. I don't think it's that important. But then you think about coming up to the meeting and having to start answering to your boss and be like, okay, is this done? And you don't want to be the guy who gets on this like, oh, I was really tired yesterday. There was, my favorite movie was out. I was at this really great part of the book. That's so embarrassing. You can't be like, oh, well, that's just who I am. I have all these internal struggles inside. What's the action? I want to see, what'd you do? And that's the idea of ayin ro'ah. God focuses on the action. Don't think about all these insides of the person. He's saying it's about the action. Your actions are what you're going to need to answer for. And so that kind of completely pushes off this whole idea of, oh, well, I have no free will. You do have free will, and you need to answer to that free will. God sees what you're doing. That's one. And then the next part is an ozen shomat, a hearing ear. And the Maharal says this is coming to answer because the person might say, look, yeah, sure, Hashem knows everything, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't take the time to pay attention to what's happening in the lower worlds. He's like a king, right? A king, does he really pay attention to all the arguments between his peasants? The CEO of Apple, I'm sure, does not care about all the little squabbling about, is the water cooler closer to me or closer to there, or is it closer to the stairs? Or CEO of Apple doesn't have time for that. He is much more important. He's about to release a new iPhone that's going to generate billions of dollars of revenue. He doesn't care about this petty squabbling. And so says the Mishnah, Ozen Shomat, there's an expression, right? He keeps an ear to the ground. Wants to know what's going on, things he might not hear about. He's listening, he's alert, he's aware, he's conscious, there's hashkacha in the world. It's not only yediah, he knows, there's also hashkacha. He's careful to pay attention. He wants to know what's going on. And the opposite, of course, a person who does not care is, it fell on deaf ears, right? That's literally what we say. He's got his ear to the ground, or it fell on deaf ears. Two very different expressions. It's the idea of ozen shomat. He's listening, he cares, he's aware, and he wants to know. And then finally, v'chol ma'asecha b'sefer nichtavim. It's written in the sefer. So of course that relates to the idea of there's a permanent memory here, but there's something also powerful in terms of, yes, he knows and he cares, but maybe we might think we're not answerable for our actions. All this effort is just, it's kind of wasted. We don't really need to make an accounting at the end of the day, but the Maharal says, no. This image of man's actions being written down in a sefer demonstrates the altering of existence. When a person has a blank sheet of paper and then they put writing on it, it's a completely different piece of paper. One has notes, one does not. One's blank and one has substance to it. I mean, hopefully, unless you're just drawing squiggles. But the idea is that our actions change the world. Each action creates something tangible. And this is part of the idea of you do something, there's a corresponding writing down by God into a sefer, and that relates to the fact that our actions change the world. We do make a difference, and that is the end of Mishnah 1, Parak 2. We'll move on to the next Mishnah next time.